Yo, what's up? It's your boy Carcino. What's up? What's up? What's up? Oh man, how many of y'all ever heard about the song? There's a song, a straight up song, y'all, where T-Boz is going in. I mean, not T-Boz, but Left Eye went in on the group TLC. This song came out due to a lot of reasons. Well, a lot of y'all don't know because you guys were like little. Some of you guys were just born. Y'all were 2000 babies. So it's kind of hard to remember when TLC started and where they ended up. After the first album, the person that became the biggest star was Left Eye. She was the one that really was the most popular, right next to T-Boz. And as the group went their separate ways and started to move on, or not their separate ways, but she started to, it was more Left Eye and then TLC. Left Eye, and that by the second album with Waterfalls, Creep, and all those songs that ended up becoming a hit, Lisa vocals wasn't put on to the remix version. She was only on like 4 songs featuring on the album, due to her wanting to record when she felt like it or when she wanted to get in. And once again, they let her do an intro and kind of pushed her to a point where Lisa was against the group, right? Now, if it wasn't for Lisa, they wouldn't have got away from Pebbles. Pebbles was really, in the beginning, the biggest problem in TLC's life. She had signed them to a very aggressive contract where she was the manager and she was getting all of this money from TLC. So if they wanted to get rid of her, they were going to have to pay her $1 million per letter. And TLC, she wanted $3 million. And that was it. Because MC Light had Roughneck. And Left Eye had a verse on Roughneck. And it was going to be a mega smash. MC Light and Left Eye. So it went crazy because after this was, the song was done and everything else, it went completely left because she said Pebbles wanted 80% of the record. She said, if I record this song, if y'all record this and put this out, I want 80% of the entire project. That cuts into MC Light's money too. So that means all the 20% of the revenue gets split with MC Light's people on her own album. And they're like, who's going to agree to that? So they took Left Eye's verse off of the record. And if you watch House Party 3, when Left Eye does when they was Sex as a Weapon, TLC, she raps the roughneck verse in that actual song. Now, she didn't like Dallas Austin. And from this point on, there's a 5 year gap from the next album. Now, the way the 5 year gap is situated, it's a way that everybody in there had their own theories, everybody had their own concepts, but she was, once they got their Grammys and awards for their album, their second project, they were airing out the grievances that they're broke and they're going to file for bankruptcy. And it's like they just sold 10 million records and they're like the hottest group in the world and they're about to file for bankruptcy. It was going to embarrass the company and put a negative light on TLC. Now, Dallas Austin is a producer, but he works for the majors. Arista and those guys, they deal with Dallas Austin. Dallas gets in there, he works his magic on the song or whatever. But he charges like a mug. Like they can't afford Dallas Austin. Or to not make him the producer of the song, you gotta buy him out. And they was like, well, we gotta get away from him. Now Chili's in a relationship with Dallas. But Chili was never a member of the group anyway at first. They brought her on once they said, hey, your friend can't be in the group. And the group was already called TLC. So they had to change everything. Well, no. The C was removed out of TLC. What's her name? Tawana was Tiana, rather, was T-Boss. They had to give Tiana was for the T. Lisa was the L. And they friend that started, her name was started with a C. I forgot who she was. That's why they were TLC. That flipped. Hold on. Sorry about that. That flipped all the way around when Chili became a member of the group. So they ended up bonding with Chili, but that's why her name, Rosanda, didn't fit the TLC lineup. So that's how they had nicknames to make the TLC work. So it was T-Boz, Left Eye, and Chili. So that's how the TLC nicknames came to be. It was just made up. And she made the Left Eye character her calling card. Now, during this 5 year gap between Fan Mail and the last album, this created a big, a huge, like, ugh, doing the promo tour for the album. She didn't like the process of making the album. And she was just exhausted, right? And the politics behind it, her dating Andre Rison, her personal life and how she wanted changes and she wanted some control and she wasn't getting it. Now, all the rest of them understand and know that, T-Boz had a condition, a medical condition. So for her to, you know, to be putting in these type of hours. She's a diabetic. She's, got to watch what she eats, what she's doing, or she could pass out and miss shows and, get rest. And so for her to put herself in these situations, it's a lot. It is a lot. And they felt like, it's they were protecting Lisa, the rest of the group. They just went along with what she liked, no matter how much they disagreed with a lot of it. Now the studio was like going over like, can we replace Left Eye, which would definitely sink the group. The company knew it, they knew it, and Lisa knew it, and that was the problem. She knew she was a very important piece of the group, and without her, the group would not succeed. She was thirsting to go solo. She worked on so many solo projects within that 5 year gap. She was on Method Man's Outro. She was on a lot of R&B records. She's on the Not Tonight with Little Kim and all these other artists that was on there. I can't believe Angie Martinez is on that song. I want to bet off that. I'm like, Angie Martinez, man, Angie Martinez went on the Not Tonight, Ladies Night remix and all that. Angie Martinez is on there rapping, dog. Man, she ain't rapping. Angie Martinez is rapping on a song, dog. That's not Angie Martinez. That's Lisa, nigga. All right. So you can't tell, brothers, nothing. So, so right away, the whole Andre Rison thing, the house burned down. Uh, she's going through her situation with her new manager and a new relationship. They're dating, and she's like totally listening a lot to what he want done. And it's another controlling situation where Lisa Left Eye is tough as nails and could stand up to anybody else in the industry, male or female. She felt comfortable in her settings. She had managed her own groups like Black and everything else. And you saw a lot of her creativity in those characters, those performances they did with her groups. So she was finna get and to make her money, the best way possible because she knew how to get to where she wanted to be doing what she was doing. And to be a petite woman, like right now, they be trying to make her a BBL. She was around more than the other girls. She was more accessible to everybody else in the industry. Uh, Fashion magazines. She was doing fashion layouts in magazines. She was hanging out with Outkast and other up and coming artists. She was with the LaFace group, so by them all being at the parties and things of that nature, she was controlling and making sure she was seen. Now, the problem with the group started to kick off when they ran into a situation where there was a lot of mistrust making fan mail. And this is when the group they're older now. It's like their careers is, going up, but they're also older. T-Boz and Chili, like look, we got to do an album promo tour, and you're not here. She's mad with the label. She's mad with the process of recording the album. Once again, the studio didn't listen to her. And they had a song called, what was it like? All right, I think it was all. Was it all right or something like that? That was supposed to be the lead single of the album. I think that Andre Rison's homeboy, dude from his hometown, they knew that she had that produced the record for them, and it didn't like get on there for some reason. And once again, fan mail was a mess because all the best songs on there are the songs that featured Lisa, and her on the actual songs were put on in remixes that wasn't on the album. So No Scrubs ended up becoming the single of the album. But the album was supposed to be called Fantasy, not Fan Mail. Fan to See, which Lisa Left Eye Lopez named the album. She had Fan, the number two, and CSEE. And that made more sense based on everything that they were doing. Like, this was going to be a futuristic album. The whole theme, the creative idea, which TLC was totally against, the other girls, they did not like the wardrobe choices that Lisa had, as she basically was dressing all of them for the video shoot, which they did not want to do for the Scrubs video. So they agreed. So in order for her to do the video, she was not going to appear in it. She wasn't going to do anything else if she couldn't dress the way she wanted to dress and represent the way she wanted to represent. So once again, we have a Lisa problem. So, with this being said, this being the case, a lot of people were thrown back or taken back. Mainly because you have someone that you felt was being controlled by her new boyfriend. You know, she was always in search of that father figure and someone she could trust. And if she was with you, she was going to fight to keep the relationship, even if it's bad, to try to make it work. So the relationship was bad. And because it was bad at the time, a lot of things were not going the way it should have been altogether. So they go on Carson Daly's, and they did an interview with Entertainment Weekly. They was on Carson Daly, and of course, everybody's, what's up with Left Eye? And she's like, oh, she's leaving the group. And she's not happy. Every time this comes up, we get the same narrative. When it comes to like Left Eye or T-Boz and Chili, we always are stuck in this situation. Now, they've been covering for a long time and just supporting her and being up there with their sister. But it was getting to be a growing problem. Once on Carson Daly, after wondering what happened with Lisa, everything turned around and fell on its head. Everybody looked around and said, whoa, what's going on here? Next thing you know, boom, in front of the whole world, it blows up. They couldn't take it no more. Chili and T-Boz couldn't take it. Dallas Austin, who was with the group still, who Left Eye wanted fired and replaced. Didn't want him in charge of any songs on the album. This is the father of Chili's baby. Not only is he a producer, now he's forever connected with Chili and TLC. And definitely T-Boz. So the Entertainment Weekly interview goes and they just vent for about an hour straight, ranting about Left Eye. Instead of talking about the album, it turns into a rant about Left Eye, about her being disloyal, and it just got crazy about how she's forgotten the other girls in the group. And they were emotional. They were heated because this came off a instance where she was supposed to be there, then she pulls out at the last second because something wasn't going her way. She wasn't even talking to the girls anymore at this time. They were talking to managers and all this, so she just couldn't deal with it. And they started doing backstabbers and talking about she stabbing the group in the back. They had totally dumped on Left Eye, which I had never seen somebody actively in a group do to another person. I've never seen that happen. You normally, if somebody's out the group, this is what you do, but not when they in the group. This is what you do. That had never been the case. You've never seen anybody get blasted like that. And she stayed at the hotel and saying that she was at the hotel upset with the group because she don't want to, they not going along with her trying to sabotage their own album. And she said, and Chili was like, Left Eye is only concerned about Left Eye. Because they keep getting asked about, where's Left Eye? And they're like, we're tired, tired, tired of it. She want her, like we want her in the group, and she knows that. And Chili just like, so it's almost like she feels like she has the power to dangle meat in front of some hungry dogs. Like I can do what I want because I know they want me here. So she takes full advantage of it. Like we're covering up for her, but we don't want the fans to be mad at us. But we're mad at her. So they try to cover it up because they don't want their fan base to turn on them because Left Eye has a lot of power in the group. So this is why they try not to sabotage the group. And they've been doing this for years. And then she went out to put out all Left Eye's business, saying she started playing into some stuff because she feels it's her job. But she's like, it's my job to keep the press going. She does this wacky stuff, then the next day she'll change her mind, and then the girls would get, pissed. They did the Vibe story that time, and she's like, I'm not into TLC. Then she got another article where she says, I love the girls to death, and I'll never leave. And she keeps repeating this over and over again. And they like, man, she's kind of like the guys in Oasis. And they just kept, going off and doing this. And that was Dallas Austin speaking on it. Like she creates this controversy by just saying these different things. So when this came out, of course, she saw it and Left Eye was very pissed. So she put out a challenge to them. She said, I'll challenge Tiana, Player Watkins, and Razonda, Hater Thomas Chili to do an album and call The Challenge. She's like, we'll make it a 3 CD set containing 3 solo albums Each album will be due to the record label by October the 1st. It was strategically set at 3 CDs because that's all they had left in their contract to complete was 3 CDs. And then they'll be out of their deal. So this turned into, and she's like, we'll turn it in on October 1st, 2000, when the album is due. And that'll end you know, all the controversy and all this back and forth. That wasn't gonna ride. No way. That wasn't gonna get it. And they was like, how dumb is that for us to all do a solo album? She's making it like we all want to be solo artists. That's her thing. Like they're all a group. So Left Eye, who was working on her solo project, because this is what she was fighting for all along, was to be this solo artist and break out and be this solo star. Her problems insisted and came along all after the fact. She had to deal with situations that did not make sense. Now, the situations that didn't make sense, that was a bit challenging for her, was the ongoing battle that she was having trying to make her album. And then in the process of this interview comes out. She had a diss record made for TLC, the whole LaFace Records, Dallas Austin, Dallas, who she calls Dallas the Manipulator Austin, and have him up there. And man, she called everybody out and disrespected the entire process, everything, and talked about how Tiana is this player. She plays everybody and in the position to get what she wants. She talked about Chili being jealous of her and how she getting more success than her and she's the least talented person out of the group. She really went into TLC. And it was called Eye for an Eye. Left eye for, playing on her name. The song was buried. So after I believe it had a play one time in like a club or whatever, the song never saw the light of day. If Eye for an Eye ever pops up anywhere, since Lisa passed away, I've not heard it or seen it anywhere on the planet. But yeah, that brought a lot of tension because they knew what was to come of the situation after the fact. Lisa was done with TLC. And they had 3 more albums to complete. And that was it. She did not want to work with Dallas Austin anymore or anyone else. But their final album that she ended up performing on, they had gotten to a different space. She was going through a lot with her boyfriend at the time, and she was starting to realize that this was a toxic relationship again. And her being single was probably the best thing for her, and she needed to get back centered. Now, TLC does a lot of their projects where they are in rehearsal studios. They have dances and all these learning steps and all these moves. So they had a choreographer. They had to go through all this. And Left Eye and Chili were the best dancers. T-Boz, she couldn't really keep up with a lot of the steps, mostly because of her, her illness and things of that nature. So they always covered for each other. Left Eye this time was saying how Player, who she called T-Boz, would get away with basically using her illness to her advantage to get away from doing certain things. And everybody thought that was wrong of her, which she apologized to T-Boz later on, but she meant not only just like that, but to manipulate situations using that sympathy she would get and everything else to get her control. Chili had Dallas to get her control. And Left Eye is like, wait a minute, I don't have any control. So she had to use her positioning for her control. So she said, okay, I'll show everybody. I'll do it the way I feel it should go. And so she used the fact that, hey, I won't be in the group if I don't have a say. That was her control. But the girls talked. Um, she was in a situation where she wasn't gonna have to see Dallas, and she was gonna come back, fill her obligations, and she basically was gonna be out the group. That was it. She was at a point where she wanted her solo album to come out at a certain time. She was into her astrology. Her solo album came out very disappointingly. They didn't think it was, worth it to put the record out. They didn't think the record was good. But it launched internationally to try to get some international push for it. Then, if it did well, they would think about releasing it in the United States. She was not happy when it released overseas, and it was not met with positive reviews, and she was just emotionally broken down. This is when Mariah Carey and others had chimed in, and they had their little spat with Mariah Carey and stuff like that. But it's a it's a different world, man, with artists when you put your heart into it and you have all of these different personalities to look out for. And it's like being on a basketball team almost. Like, hey, even though you're the superstar of the group or the team, the other players depend on you to do your part. And if you just keep thinking individually, your story will never be written for everybody else on the team group. They're like, look, so this is my role. I'm here to be the role player. A lot of people can't go along with that mix. They're not cool with that. Well, Arista had a whole different look and view. She had this electric energy within herself. And she wanted to go into this UK award thing. She had a hit with like Donnie Jones, and she wanted to go ahead and do these things here. Doing her presentation at the Source Awards, and when LaFace had gotten bought out, like LaFace was going through a whole different transition, and she was listening to Dr. Selby. So L.A. Reid came through, and bought out LaFace. He had Arista Records, and they came and bought out LaFace. With he got himself. They split with Babyface, and he was the head of Arista, and Babyface was out, and there was no more LaFace at that point, and he gave her an advance for her solo album to put out, and she was in a whole new vibe, and she made all these numerous changes. She went to Honduras to be with Dr. Selby to get herself spiritually, inclined, and she had gotten what she wanted. She basically was out of TMC. She was going to appear on some songs and with some lyrics that she was going to pre-record. She would have toured with the girls and performed her songs, but she had her solo career to be focused on. She had found her inner peace, and she was ready. She was ready to get back and do her thing. And just like losing her cousin in a very tragic accident as a baby, and Mark Pitts, who was Biggie's manager at the time, was going to be her manager and expand her vision for. She had the Supernova project and all of these things that was going on in her life. And the Supernova album, people have come to embrace that more than they did at the time it was released. A lot of people say, oh, well, it was ahead of its time. So it wasn't for the time she was in, it was for later. Now, you had a lot of different people making their observations about TLC. And what it was more, it was an inside power struggle. Lisa was wrong. Uh, the group in itself was wrong. The label was the culprits. It's big business. Lisa wrote her versions and her lyrics. No one had to write her material. Where Dallas Austin, uh, you got Dallas, you have after Dallas, you had other writers they had come in and help, you know, build the lyrics to where they needed it to be. And everyone, oh, sorry about that. Everyone was on a health kick. Everybody was like, we got to get ourselves back to where we need to be mentally, physically, get ourselves in the health. And don't forget the All That theme song. That was a hit when they first came out. Yes, that was our first time meeting TLC. That was the first and only time meeting TLC. They were a huge part of the TV show for Nickelodeon called All That. Like, they loved that show, and them doing the intro to the show that became a show that was the SNL for kids, for the teens. And you had black characters, you had Keenan and Kel, you had Nick Cannon come from there, Amanda Bynes. You had a lot of people that ended up having big careers. I mean, the president of Universal right now is Brian Robbins, who was the producer of the show. So now he's controlled Universal Music Group. So he's graduated. Well, I never had a look into the future of TLC and see what it would have been. It was just a tragic accident. Nobody took the life of Lisa Lopez. Not at all. Um, the SUV fell over. Everyone was okay except for Lisa. She suffered a traumatic head injury when it turned over. She was filming with her camera, and she was had the camera extended. Instead of letting someone else hold the camera, she was holding it herself. She was recording, took her eyes off the road, and went over the cliff on a turn, and that did it. That was actually the last footage of her alive, and tragically, she was gone. You want people to recover. You want people to get better. You want people to do whatever they need to get back to where they were. But they weren't done musically. Musically, they had a lot more to give. But you hadn't really seen T-Boz and Chili do anything else. That's how powerful Left 5 was to the group. And for her to be out of the group in that kind of way, losing her life, that takes a lot of steam out of the momentum of the group. That's it. That's that was pretty much all that went down. A lot of people pulling people in different directions. Nothing different than what you see in any other group. I mean, you see in these groups, mostly the lead singer becomes the star of the group. He goes solo. Saw NSYNC do it. Backstreet Boys, there was, no need for them to split up. They were just meant to be the Backstreet Boys, and that was just it. There was no real one standout of the group to be a solo artist. But normally that's how it worked. They try to take one guy out and make him a solo artist, but he was not strong enough to start out as a solo artist, so they take the group as a whole and they build them into solo artists. And they leave the group, and there they are. Like, he's going solo. And then the other guys just kind of like, what do we do? Oh, well, Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5. When Michael, Jermaine went solo. But when Michael went solo, that's when, there was a massive change. With everything being said, I'm going to get up out of here. The Patreons, y'all going to have this first before anybody else has it. I do need to lay down and get some sleep. I'm tired. We looking like an 18-hour day. And I still got some other stuff to deal with, so let me tackle that, and then I'll get back with y'all. All right? Love, peace, and hair grease. I'm out.